We're up and running. Right, Jamie. Fulham, Fulham away, right?
Fulham at home.
Fulham at home. I was going to say Craven Cottage is one of my favourite grounds, but you're at the Emirates. Okay,
Oh.
so Fulham at home, eminently winnable.
Yeah, should be, mate. I guess. But having said that, we it took a last minute goal last season to beat them at home. I think Gabriel scored with a few minutes to go. But that was a real close one. But yeah, I think after the Palace game, that always looked like a tough fixture on paper, and I think Fulham at home always kind of looked a bit kinder, I guess. But even more so now that they lost 3-0, didn't they, last week? They've lost Mitrovic as well. So yeah, I'm optimistic, I would say, but I also don't want to end up with egg on my face as well, because as we've said, there are just no easy games, really, are there? Apart
No.
from maybe Sheffield United at home, but
Wow. Yeah. Even that won't be a walkover. But like with Fulham, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because no one expected much of them last season, and they were really solid. And I think I remember watching your game against them last season. Um, and I think they were sort of on a good run at that time. Like Marco Silva's done a really good job. And on that point with Mitrovic, I think I'm right in saying that he didn't always get in the starting 11 anyway for Fulham.
mm, mm,
Marco Silva didn't always play him, so I think you'll still be playing, a pretty strong team.
yeah, yeah, I think so. I think so as well. That's a good point, actually. And yeah, again, I think we're at the moment, like Arsenal playing at home. I guess you know we're expected to have like the lion's share of possession and stuff, and um, I presume that Fulham will kind of come and you know I guess play on the counter attack, or certainly let us have most of the ball again. And I guess it kind of how the game goes really depends on whether or not Arsenal are able to like score an early goal. I think if we score an early goal, then it kind of changes the whole game. So yeah, we've got Gabriel Jesus back as well, which is massive. Yeah.
Is he a starter?
I don't think he'll start. No, I don't think he'll start. But Arteta did have a bit of a grin on his face today. Sort of, I don't know. Maybe he's happy that he's back, or maybe he's kind of, yeah, maybe he's ready to start. I don't know. I mean, he's certainly back a lot earlier than expected. It was expected that he would be back maybe in 2 or 3 weeks. So he's kind of come back earlier than expected. Um, yeah, yeah, which he's got a habit of doing actually, Jesus. But
So
yeah.
yeah, it's just a question. So from what you've seen of them so far this season, obviously Forest and Palace, is there anything like you? Are there any change if you were manager? Are there any changes you would make?
Um, um, I don't know. I mean, yeah, we haven't quite been at our best yet, but Arteta is like trying quite a few different things. I think, isn't he? As we've spoken about, he's playing party in that like inverted fullback position on the right now as well, um, and he's not playing Gabriel. And I guess having with Gabriel now missing the first two, I don't expect him to be back tomorrow. I think Gabriel probably will be on the bench again tomorrow. So I don't know whether whether we should change anything just because we haven't quite been at our best, or whether or not we should just keep it as it is because it's probably going to take a bit of time anyway. But I guess if this is Arteta's plan, then it probably makes more sense to stick with it because we haven't been we haven't been bad. We just haven't been kind of like spellbinding, I guess, so far. So I'd probably kind of stick with what we're doing, to be honest, tomorrow. What do
Yeah,
you think? Yeah.
I don't know. I think the only position. I mean, I'm not an Arsenal fan, right? But the only position I think there's two sort of talking points from where I can see, and it's whether you bring Gabriel back alongside Saliba
Mm,
or change Nketiah up for Trossard.
mm,
Um, it just seems to me like Nketiah. I know he hit the post against Palace and he missed that and he missed a sitter. Like, is he just below the standard Arsenal needs? but it's so early in the season. I'm being really savage. Like,
Mm.
uh, they're the only two things I can see is whether or not you mix it up front, try and create a few more chances,
Yeah,
or you
yeah.
revert back to how you played much of last season with Gabriel and Saliba at the back. Um,
Mm, mm,
and that
mm.
might bring about a little bit of familiarity. Saying that,
Potentially.
saying that Xhaka's not there anymore, it's quite a new midfield. So yeah, difficult one.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. It's odd though, isn't it? That kind of we were talking, weren't we, before the season started, that it's probably going to take Arsenal a bit of time to gel because of the new midfield. So you would have thought that he would have wanted like as much kind of like familiarity as possible. So it's really interesting that he's also been changing the defence as well. Um, but I think it is more about giving us more of that control in midfield. You know, he wants Partey in there as well, but he also kind of wants obviously Rice, Odegaard, and Havertz too. So he's kind of finding a way of getting them all playing in there together. But Zinchenko's also back now as well, and I think Zinchenko will start tomorrow actually, because Tomiyasu is suspended. So that's quite big. That's quite big. So we'll be interested to see whether he plays with both kind of inverted fullbacks or not.
yeah, usually you would say it's a negative that 3 games into the season the manager's still tinkering and trying to find the right blend. But I guess a lot of that's out of his hands with the Timber injury, and sort of so many signings in key areas. But yeah, so I guess this is a bit of a litmus test for Arteta to prove his worth. Really, it's sort of like, right, get them organised, find a system that works. Because at the end of the day, like, you're not aiming for mid-table, you're aiming to win the Premier League. So it's these standards, isn't it? It's how
Yeah,
quickly can you get it together? Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's definitely something that people um, often say, right? You know, you need to know your best team, and like he's tampering too much. But I guess if you think about City last season, like Pep was tampering loads, wasn't he? And but City didn't look great really the first half of the season, and they ended up winning the treble. So I guess it,
yeah,
sometimes it maybe just does take a bit of time, and maybe like things have changed a bit now, where that kind of tampering and being flexible can actually stand you in like really good stead, maybe in the second half of the season.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm sure you'll find it. It's not that you haven't exactly been playing badly.
No.
You're being hype. It shows how far you've come. You've won your first 2 games of the season, so it's not going too badly. On the old striker conversation,
Mm.
it's not as if Jesus brings in a bucket load of goals either, is it?
Yeah.
Not historically. He's not a 25 goal a season striker. So what does he bring that Nketiah doesn't already offer?
Yeah, yeah. Good point. He's not really, but I think well, he'll score. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you're right. If Nketiah and Jesus get the same minutes, potentially Nketiah might score a few more. I think Jesus probably, I don't know, might score around 15 potentially, maybe. But in terms of what else he brings, I think he just brings like a bit of chaos, I think, and a bit of like unpredictability.
Yeah,
Um,
he's
and he's
strong
got
as well.
that
He's really strong.
strong, yeah, yeah. He's
Yeah,
got that slight X factor, which, as you say, like Nketiah doesn't have.
no,
Um, and he's strong. Um, he makes a lot more assists than Nketiah does as well. So yeah, we are a much better team when he's fit. I think
dare I say it, just a better player.
just a better player. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's that simple. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I
Yeah,
don't think Nketiah is bad for. We've got a few options, as you say. We've got Trossard, Havertz can play up there as well. So he's not bad just to have as another option. But yeah, he's definitely not kind of first 11 standard, I would say. For a team that wants to win the title, if you're relying on him every week.
hmm. And I guess the last point is whether Havertz finally sort of finds where he slots in, and you get
Yeah,
you start to see where he's going to work in the team. Because
yeah, yeah.
I obviously watched the Forest game, and if I'm honest, I don't remember much of him in that. I didn't watch the Palace game, so
Yeah.
what does it look like Arteta's trying to do with him?
He wasn't much better against Palace, mate. He was, yeah, he's been. I mean, is it a bit harsh to say he's been like fairly anonymous? I would say in the first two games. Maybe not. Maybe it's not too harsh. Yeah, I think. Look, I think if Arsenal hadn't have won those games, I think he'd already be coming in for a bit of stick.
Hmm.
Because also it's his like we've spoken before, haven't we? It's like his languid style as well, which might draw some criticism too. But look, it's too early days to say what he's going to be like. I think and how he's going to fit in. I think Arteta really likes as well what he brings off the ball. I think his movement is really clever and stuff. The way he kind of moves, creates space for some of the other players. But yeah, he hasn't set the world alight at all yet when he's been in possession.
So would you say I noticed Reece Nelson signed an extension?
Yeah.
So would you say that it would be Reece Nelson that's given a chance over Havertz if that ever happens? Would it be Reece Nelson? Who would be the
No,
because he's a winger,
no,
right? But yeah,
he's a winger. Yeah, it would be. Well, but I guess if Havertz wasn't working out, he could revert back to just doing Partey, Rice, and Odegaard, couldn't he as well? If he wanted to drop
yeah,
Havertz, go back to the normal back four. But we've also got as well Smith Rowe potentially or Vieira too. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Strong
um,
squad, to be fair.
decent squad now. Yeah, yeah. I think Smith Rowe could be an interesting one because he was primarily a winger, but I think Arteta's almost trying to like he's really struggling for minutes actually, to be honest. But I think that could be the position where he does get some in that kind of midfield sort of eight position where Havertz is playing. I think Smith Rowe will play there in like some of the cup games, European games, and if Havertz doesn't perform, yeah, Smith Rowe might be him with a chance. He's such a good player, Smith Rowe. It's mad. Yeah,
It's one of those where you feel for him a little bit because he had that season for you where he was on fire,
yeah.
and then he was on the brink of the England team, and then suddenly he's dropped and he doesn't get a fucking minute.
But he did have he's had a lot of injuries as well,
Okay,
which have contributed. Yeah, but yeah, won the under 21 Euros as well. So
yeah,
apparently he was good in that.
yeah, yeah. He'll have his time, I'm sure. Um,
Yeah,
so give me your predictions then. Um,
predictions. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
do we need to do a head and heart? Let's do a head
Head and
and
heart
heart.
again. Yeah, why not?
Let's do a COYR head and heart. What's the
Yeah.
score going to be?
Yeah, I think Arsenal are going to win. But again, I don't know if it'll be easy. Okay, heart. I'm going to say we're going to smash it and win 3 or 4-0. Head's going to say might be a bit trickier. I'll say 3-1.
Okay,
Three
yeah,
one. Yeah,
safe.
I think so. Hopefully, we might start to like fire a bit more in the final third, especially if Jesus, even if he comes on for the last half an hour. I think that'll be a big boost.
Yeah. I think it would help you guys to have a really good performance, fluid score
Yeah,
for you. It will set you off, wouldn't it?
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Well, we'll see, won't we? We'll see.
yeah. Fingers crossed. I'll be there as well. Second game of my season ticket.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Should be
How
good.
was the seat last time?
It was good, mate. Yeah, yeah. Although the only thing was, so when I had the season ticket a couple of years ago, I was in a position where everyone stood for like the whole game, and I really liked that.
Right.
Whereas now I'm literally right next to the block where everyone's standing, and we're sitting down. So it's just not quite as good. I don't know about you, mate, but like when I was younger, I kind of never used to like standing. I used to like sitting, but now I've got a little bit older. There's something more immersive, I think, about standing.
Oh, definitely. But isn't it a case that if you start standing, will you not sort of start a little, will you not create an environment where other people think, oh, I'll stand too?
I guess so, maybe. But who's going to be? Am I going to be the first one that just starts standing?
Someone's got to.
Someone's got to.
If you do,
Depends
can you film
depends who's behind you, right? As well.
it? Yeah. Some nutter. Yeah, well, all the best to the Gooners. I'm predicting another 3 points for you, but you never know. It's the Premier League.
You never know. And one thing I was going to say actually about both of our games, Pete, tomorrow, I noticed just before It's a bit of a rarity because we're both playing Saturday at 3 o'clock, right? Not on TV.
I know, I know. It's quite nice actually.
Traditional. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Traditional Saturday 3 o'clock.
It's funny when people say that it's quite nice and then they're like, oh yeah, fuck, but I can't watch it unless you get a stream.
I'm not going to go there again. I almost, I almost gave myself away the other week, didn't I? But um, uh, I'm sure magically I'll find a way to watch it.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll come up with
And
something.
I'm not going to say any more than that.